I don't mean to be rude, it's that you should be looking at, not my finger. This is a Tawny Pinion. Now, this is a rude gesture. In Nottinghamshire, there's two rather similar, but equally quite uncommon or even rare species of pinions. This is one of them. This is Tawny Pinion, which, going by the number of records of late, is probably still rarer than the other pinion, which is Pale Pinion. Pale Pinion is especially interesting. It's a species that Dillis and I recorded new to Nottinghamshire a number of years ago, and indeed, in some remarkable quirk of fate. The very first time I took Dillis moth trapping, she netted a moth, the very first moth she'd caught with a net, and it turned out to be Tawny Pinion, and Nottinghamshire's first as well at that. That's quite some record and some feat, to find a county first with your very first swipe of a net. It's a species that we found on a number of occasions since, although I've gone quite a few years now without seeing Pale Pinion. This one, however, Tawny Pinion, I've never seen before until this specimen was kindly supplied to me. Now, in the east of Nottinghamshire, there's a village called Elksley at the side of the A1. And in the last few years, a gentleman with the name of Paul, I won't embarrass him by giving his full name, has caught a number of county rarities. His garden has produced a string of species that would be the envy of every moth trapper in the county. The other day he messaged me saying that he'd caught this. Just say this is a species never seen on anywhere, and there's certainly no showed forest records, and there's no records at Eaker, and there's still relatively few county records of this species. And thankfully, I'm friends with Paul, and I'm also friends with Dave, who lives in the same little town of Market Warsop as I do. Dave is also friends with Paul. And as this species and other species that Paul has trapped haven't been featured on the website eakingbirds.com, there's a mutual agreement now. Paul catches things, Dave fetches it, Dave puts it through a letterbox, and occasionally he'll put a moth through the letterbox as well. It's a system that's also done by members of the Lowndes Moth Group in return for identifications over the years from blurry photos. I get specimens of rare moths or moths that's not featured on the website. It's a win-win situation for everybody, because those moth trapping in Nottinghamshire get a more comprehensive website that features as many of the species found in Nottinghamshire as possible. It works both ways, and that's how it should be. Now, Tawny Pinion, I'll post photos of both species, but Tawny Pinion has that dark, almost likened to burnt toast stripe on the thorax. There's various tufts of hair on the thorax, and on Tawny Pinion they are very dark, so it appears to have that dark stripe. Pale Pinion doesn't have that. The rest of the wings are quite similar between the two species. So, this is at last my first chance to see Tawny Pinion in Nottinghamshire. It may well be a drab moth, but its rarity value makes it especially interesting for most of the county's moth trappers. So I'd like to thank Dave and Paul and everybody else that supplies us with moths that aren't featured on the website. It's very much appreciated. And now I can show them to a wider audience by the means of YouTube. Again, it's a win-win situation. I get to see rare moths, you get to see rare county moths, and the moths of Nottinghamshire get much deserved publicity.